Farmers in the United States are battling two threats. A new virus has hit the pork industry, and farmers face anger from neighbors and environmentalists over pollution from runoff. CCTV's Mike Kirsch takes a closer look at how one farmer is handling these issues.
Across the Midwest in the United States is a landscape of rural farming communities where families have been raising hogs, in many cases for more than a century. It's where much of the world's pork comes from. Almost 5 billion pounds exported abroad to Asia and Europe last year alone, about $6 billion worth. Brad Frecking agreed to take CCTV behind the scenes of his hog farm operation at a time when the pork industry's image is just now recovering from the devastating impact to sales suffered during the H1N1 swine flu pandemic back in 2009.
H1N1, which the mass media labeled swine flu. Our export sales plummeted, our price of pork plummeted.
And presently, Frecking says the pork industry is suffering from another virus outbreak, though one non-threatening or contagious to humans, called the PED or PED virus, that's claimed the lives of 3 million piglets in 25 U.S. states.
So pork supply is shrinking, and it's going to continue to shrink through the fall. It's going to decrease U.S. pork supply. I mean, there's no doubt about that. It's already doing it, and the response to that is prices are rising.
Frecking says a number of his own newborn pigs have contracted the PED virus, despite the strict sanitation measures he has in place for any person entering his hog facilities, among them showering and stepping into this virus-killing powder. As farmers in the pork industry battle to keep their animals healthy inside these confinements, critics of the pork industry say a greater concern should be the health of people living nearby outside these confinements. Citizens in rural farm country who environmentalists say are routinely exposed to toxic levels of pig manure gases like hydrogen sulfide and ammonia. And citizens who in larger urban areas like in Iowa's state capital Des Moines are reportedly exposed to high levels of pollutants in the water supply, from which some get their drinking water. That environmentalists blame in no small part on the pig manure and urine that falls down through ground slats into Olympic pool-sized holding tanks underneath these confinements, or seen stored in outdoor waste lagoons like these. Pig waste then is pumped out onto nearby fields to fertilize corn and soybean crops that are grown to feed the pigs. Toxins that ultimately run off into nearby streams and rivers.
Yes,
local environmentalist Bob Watson offers a rather blunt message to Asian and European consumers of U.S. pork.
They get the meat, and we're the toilet. So we are left with the water pollution, the air pollution, the health effects. We even have deaths from hydrogen sulfide in confinements.
Several states have reported hog farmers dying from toxic fumes inside these confinements that can house upwards of 1,500 pigs. Pigs dying as well, say environmentalists, from toxins in and around the confinements.
We've always lived in a very heavily regulated environment, Mike. That's how to operate our facilities. I mean, we're doing annual audits, random visitations to the farms. I mean, so we've grown up in an environment where we have to dot our I's and cross our T's and do things right. And that includes the proper amount of nutrients going on the farms.
He says to prevent an excess of fertilizers on his fields and possible runoff, Frecking and the farmers he works with use high-tech computers aboard their tractors that monitor how much fertilizer is applied to their fields.
When you look at a farmer, he's an environmentalist at heart. I mean, he is a land steward, and because that land, it's his 401k, it's his IRA, it's how he makes money. And why would you destroy your livelihood? The farmers are the best stewards of the land, by far and away. And sometimes you need education to help the farmers do things better.
Brad Frecking says the U.S. pork industry today, while not perfect, is driven by the mass consumption of pork around the world, a demand that he has chosen to supply in what he says is the most environmentally sound way he can. His motto is that consumers always have a choice.
I'm a believer of consumer choice. If you want to be a vegetarian, great, power to you. Most of them, though, if they smell bacon, they break the vow.
That was Mike Kirsch reporting. You could see a full version of the story on the next edition of America's Now. That's 8 p.m. Eastern Sunday and 8 a.m. Beijing time on Monday.